Welcome to Johannesburg, the most populous city in South Africa with 4,803,262 people, and is classified as a megacity. It is one of the 100 largest urban areas in the world. It is the provincial capital and largest city of Gauteng, which is the wealthiest province in South Africa. Johannesburg is the seat of the Constitutional Court, the highest court in South Africa. Most of the major South African companies and banks have their head offices in Johannesburg. The city is located within the mineral-rich Witwatersrand Hills, the epicenter of the international-scale mineral, gold and, specifically, diamond trade. Kindly subscribe to this channel and share this video with your friends and families. Johannesburg was established in 1886, following the discovery of gold, on what had been a farm. Due to the extremely large gold deposits found along the Witwatersrand, within 10 years, the population had grown to over 100,000 inhabitants. A separate city from the late 1970s until 1994, Soweto is now part of the Greater Johannesburg metropolitan area. An acronym for Southwestern Townships, Soweto was organized initially as a collection of nondescript settlements on the outskirts of the city, populated mostly by African laborers working in the gold mining industry. Soweto, although eventually incorporated into Johannesburg, had been explicitly separated as a residential area for blacks only, no whites allowed, who were not permitted to live in other, white-designated areas of Johannesburg. Another region, Lenasia, is predominantly populated by English-speaking Indo-South Africans, people of Indian and South Asian descent. These areas were, in previous decades, designated as non-white areas, in accordance with the segregationist policies of the time, known as Apartheid. It would go on to be one of the host cities of the official tournament of the 2010 FIFA World Cup, and it hosted the final. The metropolis is an alpha global city, as listed by the Globalization and World Cities Research Network. In 2019, the population of the city of Johannesburg was 5,635,127, making it the most populous city in South Africa. In the same year, the population of Metro Johannesburg's urban agglomeration was put at 8 million. Land area of the municipal city, 1,645 square kilometers or 635 square miles, is large in comparison with those of other major cities, resulting in a moderate population density of 2,364 per square kilometer, 6,120/sq.mi. Controversy surrounds the origin of the name. There were quite a number of people with the name Johannes who were involved in the early history of the city. Among them is the principal clerk attached to the office of the Surveyor General Hendrik Dirksen, Christian Johannes Joubert, who was a member of the Volksraad and was the Republic's chief of mining. Another was Stephanus Johannes Paulus Kruger, better known as Paul Kruger, president of the South African Republic, ZAR, from 1883 to 1900. Johannes Meyer, the first government official in the area, is another possibility. Precise records for the choice of name were lost. Johannes Rissik and Johannes Joubert were members of a delegation sent to England to obtain mining rights for the area. Joubert had a park in the city named after him, and Rissik has his name for one of the main streets in the city where the historically important albeit dilapidated Rissik Street post office is located. The city hall is also located on Rissik Street. The region surrounding Johannesburg was originally inhabited by San hunter-gatherers who used stone tools. There is evidence that they lived there up to 10 centuries ago. Stone-walled ruins of Soweto, Tswana towns and villages are scattered around the parts of the former Transvaal in which Johannesburg is situated. By the mid-18th century, the broader region was largely settled by various Soweto, Tswana communities, one linguistic branch of Bantu speakers, whose villages, towns, chiefdoms and kingdoms stretched from the Bechuanaland Protectorate, what is now Botswana, in the west, to present-day Lesotho in the south, to the present-day petty areas of the Limpopo province. More specifically, the stone-walled ruins of Soweto, Tswana towns and villages are scattered around the parts of the former Transvaal province in which Johannesburg is situated. Many Soweto, Tswana towns and villages in the areas around Johannesburg were destroyed and their people driven away during the wars emanating from Zululand during the late 18th and early 19th centuries, the Mfikane or Difekane Wars, and as a result, an offshoot of the Zulu kingdom, the Ndebele, often referred to as the Matabele, the name given them by the local Soweto, Tswana, set up a kingdom to the northwest of Johannesburg around modern-day Rustenburg. The main Witwatersrand gold reef was discovered in June 1884 on the farm Vogelstruisfontein by Jan Gerritse Banges, son of Jan Banges. This triggered the Witwatersrand gold rush and the founding of Johannesburg in 1886. The discovery of gold rapidly attracted people to the area, making necessary a name and governmental organization for the area. Jan, Johan and Johannes were common male names among the Dutch of that time. Two men involved in surveying the area for the best location of the city, Christian Johannes Joubert and Johan Rissik, are considered the source of the name by some. Johannes Meyer, the first government official in the area, is another possibility. Precise records for the choice of name were lost. Within 10 years, the city of Johannesburg included 100,000 people. In September 1884, the Struben brothers discovered the Confidence Reef on the farm Wildspruit near present-day Roodepoort, which further boosted excitement over gold prospects. 254. The first gold to be crushed on the Witwatersrand was the gold-bearing rock from the Banges mine, crushed using the Struben brothers' stamp machine. News of the discovery soon reached Kimberley, and directors Cecil Rhodes and Sir Joseph Robinson rode up to investigate the rumors for themselves. They were guided to the Banges camp with its tents strung out over several kilometers and stayed with Banges for 2 nights. In 1884, they purchased the first pure refined gold from Banges for £3,000. Incidentally, Banges had from 1881 been operating the Kromdraai gold mine in the cradle of humankind together with his partner Johannes Stephanus Minnaar, where they first discovered gold in 1881, and which also offered another kind of discovery, the early ancestors of all mankind. Some report Australian George Harrison as the first to make a claim for gold in the area that became Johannesburg, as he found gold on a farm in July 1886. He did not remain in the area. Gold was earlier discovered some 400 kilometers, 249 miles, to the east of present-day Johannesburg in Barberton. Gold prospectors soon discovered the richer gold reefs of the Witwatersrand offered by Banges. The original miners' camp, under the informal leadership of Carl Ignatius Ferreira, was located in the Fordsburg Dip, possibly because water was available there, and because of the site's proximity to the diggings. Following the establishment of Johannesburg, the area was taken over by the Transvaal government, who had it surveyed and named it Ferreira's Township, today the suburb of Ferreirasdorp. The first settlement at Ferreira's camp was established as a tented camp, and which soon reached a population of 3,000 by 1887. The government took over the camp, surveyed it and named it Ferreira's Township. By 1896, Johannesburg was established as a city of over 100,000 inhabitants, one of the fastest growth cities ever. Mines near Johannesburg are among the deepest in the world, with some as deep as 4,000 meters, 13,000 feet. Like many late 19th century mining towns, Johannesburg was a rough and disorganized place, populated by white miners from all continents. African tribesmen were recruited to perform unskilled mine work. African women beer brewers cooked for and sold beer to the black migrant workers. A very large number of European prostitutes, gangsters, impoverished Afrikaners, tradesmen, and the Amawasha, Zulu men who surprisingly dominated laundry work. As the value of control of the land increased, tensions developed between the Boer-dominated Transvaal government in Pretoria and the British, culminating in the Jameson raid that ended in fiasco at Doornkop in January 1896. The Second Boer War, 1899–1902, saw British forces under Field Marshal Frederick Sleigh Roberts, 1st Earl Roberts, occupy the city on May 30, 1900 after a series of battles to the southwest of its then limits, near present-day Krugersdorp. Fighting took place at the Gatsrand Pass, near Zachariah Park, on May 27, north of Vanwyksrust, today's Nancefield, Eldorado Park and Naturena, the next day, culminating in a mass infantry attack on what is now the Waterworks Ridge in Chiawilo and Senaoini on May 29. During the Boer War, many African mineworkers left Johannesburg, creating a labor shortage, which the mines ameliorated by bringing in laborers from China, especially southern China. After the war, they were replaced by black workers, but many Chinese stayed on, creating Johannesburg's Chinese community, which during the Apartheid era, was not legally classified as Asian, but as colored. The population in 1904 was 155,642, of whom 83,363 were whites. Kindly subscribe to this channel and share this video with your friends and families. In 1917, Johannesburg became the headquarters of the Anglo-American corporation founded by Ernest Oppenheimer, which ultimately became one of the world's largest corporations, dominating both gold mining and diamond mining in South Africa. Major building developments took place in the 1930s, after South Africa went off the gold standard. In the late 1940s and early 1950s, Hillbrow went high-rise. In the 1950s and early 1960s, the Apartheid government constructed the massive agglomeration of townships that became known as Soweto. New freeways encouraged massive suburban sprawl to the north of the city. In the late 1960s and early 1970s, tower blocks, including the Carlton Center and the Southern Life Center, filled the skyline of the central business district. Under the system of apartheid, Afrikaans for apartness or separate development, although the system